Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tennis Fan Video. In tennis, defeated players cry alone on benches after heartbreak. Yet sometimes, the sport reveals its most human moments through quiet acts of compassion from the opponent across the net. Fans witnessed it when Jannik Sinner comforted Alexander Zverev after the 2025 Australian Open final. Now, at French Open qualifying, Bianca Andreescu delivered another deeply touching gesture by consoling her emotional opponent. Andreescu advanced to the second round of qualifying at the French Open after defeating Daphne Petchy-Perricard 6-3, 6-2. The former U.S. Open champion delivered a composed performance against the young French wildcard in Paris. However, the emotional moment after the match quickly captured attention beyond the result itself. As the match ended, the 17-year-old Petchy-Perricard sat in her chair, crying while trying to process the loss. Andreescu, meanwhile, was initially thanking the crowd following her victory. But after noticing the teenager crying on the sidelines, the Canadian immediately turned the attention toward her opponent instead. The former world number 4 first gestured toward Petchy-Perricard and encouraged the crowd to applaud the emotional teenager. Andreescu then walked over personally to comfort her opponent as cameras captured Petchy-Perricard's mother appearing equally emotional in the stands. The heartfelt moment earned warm appreciation from spectators before the young French player finally stood up and wiped away her tears with a towel. Petchy-Perricard entered the tournament ranked number 811 in the world. She had received a wild card into qualifying and arrived carrying added attention as the younger sister of ATP player Giovanni Petchy-Perricard. On court, Andreescu established control almost immediately. The 2019 U.S. Open champion broke serve twice early and raced into a commanding 4-0 lead in the opening set. Although the Canadian later suffered a brief dip and lost the next 3 games, she quickly regained momentum. Andreescu held serve in the 8th game before securing another break in the 9th game to close out the first set. After taking the opener, Andreescu continued applying constant pressure during the second set. Petchy-Perricard showed strong resistance early on and survived her first 2 service games after saving 4 break points in total. Still, the pressure from the Canadian eventually became too much for the 17-year-old. From 2-2 in the second set, Andreescu won 4 consecutive games to seal the straight sets victory in a full house on Suzanne Lenglen and continue her qualifying campaign in Paris. And while Andreescu shared a heartfelt gesture toward her opponent, tennis has witnessed similar moments before, as compassion between players remains one of the sport's most powerful qualities. Alex de Minaur praised after classy gesture following dramatic Washington Open final victory. Similar to Andreescu's emotional gesture in Paris, tennis witnessed another touching moment last year involving Alex de Minaur at the Washington Open. The Australian produced a remarkable comeback to defeat Alejandro Davidovich Fokina 5-7, 6-1, 7-6, 3 in a dramatic final. De Minaur saved 3 championship points during the match and somehow recovered from 2-5 down in the deciding set. He even faced match points on his own serve while trailing 4-5 before turning the match around completely. For Davidovich Fokina, the defeat was emotionally crushing. The Spaniard had come within touching distance of the title, only to watch the match slip away heartbreakingly. After the final point, Davidovich Fokina sat on his bench in tears while trying to process what had happened. The pain of the loss was clearly visible as emotions overwhelmed him on court. Instead of immediately celebrating wildly, de Minaur chose compassion first. The Australian walked directly toward his defeated opponent and comforted him during the difficult moment. He put his arm around the Spaniard's shoulder while offering words of encouragement. The gesture quickly earned admiration from fans, as it reflected the respect and humanity that still exists within the sport. Another unforgettable example of sportsmanship came during the 2009 Australian Open final between Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal. After losing the final to Nadal, Federer struggled to hold back tears during the trophy ceremony. As Federer tried to compose himself emotionally, he stopped during his speech and admitted, "Maybe I'll try again later." "God, it's killing me." Seeing his longtime rival devastated, Nadal immediately wrapped an arm around Federer's shoulders and gently encouraged him back toward the microphone. Moments like these have become lasting symbols of tennis sportsmanship over the years. And now, After consoling her emotional opponent at the French Open qualifiers, Andreescu's heartfelt gesture will likely join those memorable acts of compassion that continue to define the spirit of the game. The clay of Roland Garros was still glowing under the late Paris sun, the stadium half empty but still humming with disbelief. Bianca Andreescu had just sealed a dramatic French Open victory, another reminder of her resilience, her ability to rise from injuries, doubts, and pressure to claim the biggest stages in tennis. But what happened after the final point mattered even more than the trophy. On the other side of the net stood a 17-year-old rising star, tears already forming before the handshake. She had come within touching distance of a historic breakthrough, playing fearless tennis, saving break points, even forcing Andreescu into moments of visible frustration. Yet in the end, experience and composure had edged youth and ambition. As Bianca approached the net, the expected formality of a champion's handshake quickly dissolved into something far more human. The teenager tried to smile, but it broke halfway. Her eyes dropped, shoulders shaking slightly as the weight of the moment hit her all at once. The crowd, still loud from the final rally, began to quiet as they sensed something different unfolding. Bianca didn't move past her. She stopped. Instead of lifting the trophy pose or turning toward her team, she gently pulled the younger player in for a hug. It wasn't brief or performative. It was steady, grounding, like she understood exactly what that moment felt like. "You're going to win this one," Bianca said softly, just loud enough for the courtside microphones to catch fragments of her words. "Not today, but you will. I promise you." The 17-year-old nodded, but the tears came harder now, not from defeat alone but from the release of everything she had carried to this final. Months of training. Expectations. The dream of becoming a Grand Slam champion before adulthood. It had all come within inches and slipped away. Bianca kept her hand on the girl's shoulder, speaking quietly as they walked toward the net post together. Cameras followed, but the usual frenzy of sports coverage softened into something almost reverent. "You don't understand how strong you were today," Bianca continued. "I've been in your position. I know what it feels like to think it's over. But it's not. This is just the beginning for you." The teenager finally looked up, eyes red but focused. She managed a small nod, absorbing the words like they were heavier than any trophy. When they separated, Bianca gave her one last squeeze of the hand before stepping back toward her team. Only then did she lift her arms slightly, acknowledging the applause that was beginning to rebuild in the stands. Later, during the trophy ceremony, social media would explode, not just about the match, but about the moment at the net. Clips of Bianca comforting her opponent spread faster than highlights of championship points. Fans called it everything from sportsmanship at its purest to the moment tennis needed. For Bianca Andreescu, it was simple. A victory mattered. But so did the person on the other side of the net. And for the 17-year-old, still standing on the edge of her first great heartbreak, it became something unexpected. Not the end of a dream, but the first proof that she truly belonged in it. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like and share. Till next time.